Hi everybody, it's Alex Newton from K-lytics, today with our Kindle market trends for March-April 2021. So let's have a look. Let's talk about the book market, and here we have a very strange anniversary because we have 1 year of impact of this pandemic. We reported on various trends and impacts over the last year, but now it's really interesting as we have a full year of market data. It's almost a year to the day where I had a webinar where we looked at this curve here of search interest for coronavirus on Google with this huge surge in the last week of March 2020. In the meantime, people of course looked more for COVID, although on a much lower level. But the point is, back then, the search interest for ebooks in April 2020 surged by 100%, doubling the search interest for ebooks at that point in time. As you can see, search interest for coronavirus faded away much quicker than for ebooks, which only now are back down to, say, normal level, although we still have a slight upward trend. And if you look at this graph solely for countries like the US or the UK, the latter in particular, you will see a rebound of ebook interest here with the second wave of the pandemic. What happened to reader interest during all that time? Well, if I were to summarize it in one phrase, I'd say readers were looking for humor, lighter reads, and escapism, and the data clearly proves that. Here's just one example. We have here the graph for the Kindle category, humor and entertainment, one of the big 30 main categories. And you see this massive improvement in average sales rank over the last year. And what is more, overall demand for books as people were sitting at home during the lockdown rose to new heights, and all that despite high street bookshops having been closed for most of the time. Here we have the highest print book growth in a decade, with unit sales in the US growing by as much as 8.2% in 2020 over the year before. And growth on the Amazon Kindle platform was even higher. If we take the Kindle Select Global Fund, that is, the royalties being paid to authors who've chosen to go exclusive with Amazon, we saw a 25% rise to $377 million in the year 2020. And if we make a very early projection for the year 21, we see that based on just the January and February data, which has always represented a similar share over the years as a share of the total year, we can make this early projection of a, say, 21% growth plus or minus a couple of percentage points for this year. This is a tremendously positive outlook for the book industries and indie authors in particular, as they are agile, fast, and react to market trends very quickly. So let's have a look at a couple of trends and developments that we saw in the Kindle bestseller list that we focus on here at K-lytics. First of all, in March 21, things are very much back to normal, with romance, mystery, thriller, suspense, and science fiction and fantasy leading the genre sales on the Kindle platform. That ranking is the normal position over the year, with a bit of changes between sci-fi, non-fiction, teen, young adult. They always contest each other. And during the first wave of the pandemic, we saw children's books surge up to, I think it was position 2 or 3 for a brief moment in time. If you want to have a close look at those overall numbers, there's no need to take notes. You can download a free copy of this K-lytics basic report at k-lytics.com, k-lytics.com/free report. That's free-report. And if you're already a member, you will find it in the basic section of the members area. This month, I want to particularly focus on fiction in this video. And let's start with the biggest category, with romance, where the top 100 sales rank performance has been very positive now after a year. We see after March 2020, we had a bit of a dip during the first 2 months of the lockdown, followed by a strong and steady rebound all the way up here into March 21, with the highest rank levels that we've seen in 18 months. And what turns this into a particularly positive picture is the fact that not only the sales rank, the demand has gone up, so have romance ebook prices, with a new highest ever value here closing in on $5 as an average in the top 100. And that is a pretty striking value, especially to those of you who remember the days a couple of years back when the average in the top 100 had dropped below the $3 mark. One of the clear winners during the last 18 months, 12 months, and here shorter term was clearly historical romance. I call it the Bridgerton effect, with the blockbuster Netflix series that brought all the Regency romance, well, particularly Julia Quinn's books, the author of Bridgerton, but also many other Regency romance authors up there into the higher ranks. So if you are into historical romance, now is the time. Another one here, Fun and Escapism, was really in demand and still is. Romantic comedy as an indicator, where we saw that after March 2020 we saw this strong rebound here, and here in March 2021 we see the highest levels actually ever since 2016 for romantic comedy. For those of you who are interested, check out also our members area here for our recent February 21 romantic comedy special report with the full seminar. And if you'd like to have the full overview of more than 90 romance genres, have a look at our March 21 romance ebook market research that we just published. Moving on to mystery, thriller, suspense. The genre overall has been pretty resilient throughout the whole pandemic. In fact, here the sales have been pretty flat, number 2 overall out of all the genres. And average sales rank has been stable between, say, 150 and 180 out of the Kindle store. But also here we saw a clear signal in reader behavior. Overall reader preference has been moving to lighter reads, as exhibited, for example, here by the average sales rank improvement of more than 100% in certain cozy mystery subgenres. While on the other side of the spectrum, we saw a clear decline for darker reads, such as here the horror category, which took a clear dive over the last 12 months. In science fiction and fantasy, we saw a very strong sales rank performance with a very solid increase of the average sales rank from about 450 to 350 and above, as this genre provided to the readers a much needed escape into other worlds and other universes. But such trend was not happening in all subcategories of sci-fi and fantasy. And it may not come as a surprise to see a declining interest, for example, for post-apocalyptic reads, where average sales rank dropped from the 600 mark a year ago down to 1,000, 1,200. Last but not least, let's look at teen and young adult. And here, if you look at the overall picture of the category, it's not that telling. There was an uptick in demand during the first lockdown period, then it declined back down, and now another surge here towards Christmas and then into the new year. But once you examine the lower level categories, you find some interesting phenomena, especially if you compare what happened over the last 12 months with the whole period before. Example here is teen young adult paranormal and urban fantasy romance, which used to be on a 4-year decline here from 2016 all the way into March 2020. And then during the pandemic and lockdowns, as some teen young adult readers seem to have read more books again, we see this strong rise in the whole category. An Amazon Kindle bestseller list that spans paranormal romance, urban fantasy, a bit also dystopian, post-apocalyptic, primarily dystopian teen young adult romance, fantasy romance, and a couple of other subgenres. Fae or fairy romance has been trending, and this gives us this picture here. And what is also interesting to note about such teen young adult categories is the fact that if you map them on the K-lytics strategy map, where every dot is a category and the higher up the better the sales, the further to the right the more competitive, you see it's right here in the center in the green zone of hot niche markets, where the size of the category is less than 10,000 titles, while the average sales rank of the category is pretty high up there. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this very brief rundown of a couple of categories and 1 year of impact of the pandemic on the book market in specific categories. Of course, there are more than 7,000 Kindle bestseller lists, and if you want to have a full picture of the performance of these, please visit us and check out K-lytics.com, that's k-lytics.com, where if you join or upgrade to the elite membership level, you get, amongst many other things, a monthly updated database with a performance of more than 7,000 Kindle categories. So much for today. Enjoy springtime. This is Alex Newton from K-lytics, ebook market intelligence for success.